Hello one and all, welcome to my YouTube channel where I post anything and everything that interests me. Today I'm going to be making a tier list of a bunch of different TikTok trends over the past 5-6 years or so of its existence. I've compiled together a bunch of trends that I felt were very iconic moments and things that were very widely posted on the platform. I also had some help from some of my Instagram followers to compile this list together. Now this list doesn't encompass everything because there are simply too many TikTok trends for me to fit them all into one video. So I've just tried my best to fit the most iconic ones into this video. If you want to help me out in a possible future video, follow my Instagram. It's right here because I do foresee myself asking people for help in future videos. Depending on what I'm doing though. I guess we'll never know. But without further ado, let's delve straight into this tier list. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. I have my laptop, I have my tier list. Took my hoodie off because it was a little too hot in my room. We are gonna go ahead and get started on this tier list with our first entry, the Five Nights at Freddy's Burger King employee. This is the Burger King employee who was doing a silly little dance while on the job and then gets walked in on. This one holds a special place in my heart. I feel like this was one of those original videos that really made TikTok compilations a TikTok compilation, but I also feel like it wasn't the best it could be. Like, it's definitely a good one, but I feel like as a starter point, this is gonna be a good place to know which ones are better and which ones are worse. So for that, I'm gonna go ahead and put it into B tier. He was at the club. Phenomenal. I think this one was a very fun trend that a lot of people enjoyed. All you needed was a little bit of eyeliner and a cup and some sunglasses and you were set. You had this trend in the bag. Absolutely fire. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in A tier. I'll be your one-up girl. Now, this is a trend that also holds a very special place in my heart. I remember seeing that video and middle school me was like, I can do that. I can do the dance, and I did the dance and I looked stupid doing it, so I never did TikTok dances after that, with the fair exception of me doing them with my friends in middle school. This trend made me believe that I could do a cute little dance and look good while doing it. Meanwhile, I was very wrong about that. And for that, I'm gonna put it in B tier, but only because I have personal trauma associated with it. What can get more iconic than I Wanna Be Tracer? How many lip syncing videos of girls to that audio exist out there? Probably a lot. Probably very many. I personally never made one of those videos. Granted, I was very shy at the time and I didn't really want to post online too much, so that's probably why. I'm sorry if you can hear noises in the background. My microphone is still not arrived. I'm still just recording with my iPhone. Either way, I Wanna Be Tracer. It's a good trend, but it doesn't really hit the spot the way some of the other ones do, so for that, I'm gonna go ahead and put it into C tier. Gamers versus furries. I have a lot of thoughts about this one. I really do. I have a lot of thoughts. And it's mostly around the fact that gamers versus furries trend was mostly just an excuse to bully furries. Now let me say one thing. Let me make this one thing very clear. I am an ally to furries. I personally stand by them. Am I a furry myself? No. No, I'm not. But all the furries that I have met have been some of the kindest people ever. So shout out to all the furries. If you're a furry, comment down below. Special shout out to you guys for always being super nice and super cool. So for that, Gamers vs. Furries is gonna be my first D tier placement, just because I think the trend itself was just an excuse to bully furries, even though there was a couple videos where the two sides did seem to be getting along perfectly fine. The rating Area 51 meme. Now, I don't know if I have a lot of thoughts about this one. I just remember witnessing history that the day came around. I was in middle school. I think I was in either 6th or 7th. No, I was in either 7th or 8th grade when the Area 51 raid was happening. And I remember watching with my friends on one of our phones the whole thing go down. And the fact that there was actually a gathering of people there, that was absolutely astonishing for me. I never thought that anything like that would ever happen. But overall, it's a little bit lackluster to me. It doesn't really stand out. I feel like there's a lot more iconic and better memes and trends and moments that happened over the course of TikTok that I think stand out more. So for that, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in C tier. Hit or miss. This is another one that stands out to me just based on the fact that it was so iconic for the time. This was the era of TikTok where it was like embarrassing to have the app and you had to hide the app on your phone. I personally was one of those people who kept the app around because I found it very entertaining. I guess you could say I was ahead of my time, but either way, hit or miss. I feel like it's iconic. I feel like it deserves a spot higher than C. It's for me, it's somewhere between like a high C tier and a low B tier. So for now, I'm gonna put it in high C tier, but that might change in a little bit if I like end up redoing things. COVID-19 memes. COVID memes, the panini memes. I think at the time, a lot of us were just coping with the fact that there was a huge world event going on. And I completely understand that. My only issue with the COVID memes trend is the fact that some of them were starting to get into the racist territory against Asian people. And that's something that I don't appreciate. I know my takes are so controversial, racism bad, but in all seriousness, some of the jokes from the time were pretty funny. I did enjoy them, except for the racist ones. So for that, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this one as another high C tier. Ooh, this one. The PFP cults of TikTok. That was quite an era, what can I say? It really was. The first one that I remember was the step chickens. There was many more that came after that. Possibly in the future, I might make a history of profile picture cults video on one of my TikTok accounts. For context, I've had like 7 or 8 now. I did join a lot of the profile picture cults, and with those, it was just an excuse for people to get a bunch of followers and mass follow people and then unfollow them right afterwards. Granted, that wasn't the case for everybody. Some people genuinely did just want mutuals. Me, on the other hand, I just wanted free followers, and I am not ashamed to admit that. Now, the only other issue with the profile picture cults trends was the fact that a lot of them became super annoying after, like, over time, and you would just see hundreds and hundreds of comments and comment sections be flooded with people with all the same profile picture just being really annoying, and then eventually somebody would say something racist or offensive, and then the entire profile picture cult scenario would be deemed as like, oh, if these people have this profile picture, then they're all racist and they're all offensive. It was just a lot of mob mentality, which I don't really appreciate. So for that, this one's also gonna go in D tier. It was fun in the moment, but looking back at it, there was some issues with it. But I'll put it at a high D tier. The 2020 alt fashion kids of TikTok. Think the bunny hat, think Hot Topic skirts, think fishnets, think big chunky belts. I wanted to be one of those motherfuckers so badly. I would have given anything to dress like that at the time. I tried too, with the clothes that I had in my closet. It did not look remotely how I pictured it to be. I thought I looked so good. That was not the case. But I think this was a very free time on TikTok. I think a lot of people were starting to experiment with alternative fashion. I think this was a lot of people's first step into discovering what their own personal style was. I know looking back in retrospect, a lot of people simply call these people trend hoppers, saying that they were going from trend to trend. But I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with just following the mainstream of what's popular. I mean, people like to dress in a way that's deemed popular, so I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I think this was overall a very positive era of self-discovery for a lot of people, and for that I'm gonna put it in a low B tier, just because we were cringe but we were free. And that's gonna be a recurring theme throughout this video, is that we were cringe but we were free. Deep TikTok. This one was silly. I liked this one. Personally, I did. I especially enjoyed the deep fried videos of different children's shows, as well as deep fried videos of CGI animals dancing around, specifically the cows. The videos with the cows in them, I really enjoyed those. Now, I don't really know where to put it because I feel like it was good, but it's not good enough to be in B tier. Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna backtrack on that and say that it is good enough to be in B tier, but I feel like it's over I'll Be Your One-Up Girl, but underneath the Five Nights at Freddy's Burger King employee, simply because that video was just so good and it brings me so much joy every time I watch it. But deep TikTok also, as it's referred to, deserves a spot in like a mid B tier. Now we move on to hyper-saturated indie kid videos. There was a specific filter on TikTok, which was like a hyper-saturation filter, and there was many different trending audios that were used with these specific filters. Other things you saw a lot with this filter would be the combination of that specific frog hat that a lot of people wore, candy jewelry, as well as Hot Topic jewelry were also big very common things to see in this general realm of TikTok. It was good. It was a good time, but I feel like it wasn't as good as the 2020 alt fashion kids of TikTok. But I will give it a B tier spot because it wasn't great, but it also wasn't terrible like some of the other trends. Fairy comments. At the time, this was so creative. Some people got so creative with the fairy comments. I'll put a couple examples on screen. Fairy comments were one of those things that I had never seen before on TikTok. I think this was one of the first comment section trends that I've seen. This was before we had the like funny comments that we get nowadays. If you're on TikTok right now, you would know that there's specific comments that you know you're going to see under every post. Like a very popular one, do you do weddings? Do you do birthdays? Hilarious. I love it. I love to see it. But fairy comments, I feel like, was one of the first comment section trends that existed on TikTok. And for that, and for its originality, I'm gonna go ahead and put it at a low A tier. Strawberry cow. I feel conflicted on this one. I remember when this trend was first starting to arise and people were doing like strawberry makeup to the strawberry cow audio, there was discussion over the fact that some people thought that the Strawberry Cow song was devaluing Mitski's original message behind her song Strawberry Blonde, which I can understand, but at the same time, I think it was just a silly cover of the song that a lot of people really liked and decided to do makeup and outfit trends to. But even with all that set aside, Strawberry Cow didn't really hit very hard for me. I remember seeing it, I remember thinking it was cute, but it was nothing special. It was nothing to rave about, it was nothing to write home about. So for that, I'm just gonna put it at a high C tier, since I don't really have very many strong opinions about it. Doja Cat's reign on TikTok, specifically the Say So era of TikTok. She had a lot of songs really pop off on TikTok, and she almost owned the audios on the app for a little bit there. Especially in like 2020, if I remember correctly. I might get my years mixed up in this video just because it all blends together in my brain. I remember there was a specific time on TikTok where you couldn't scroll past 3 videos without hearing a Doja Cat sound. And she definitely had her time on TikTok before all the controversies started to happen with her. So controversies set aside, I think Doja Cat's reign on TikTok was one of the prime TikTok eras, specifically the Say So era. So for that, I'm gonna put this at like a mid B tier. I feel like that's a pretty fair place to put it. The cannibal dance. I've only got 2 TikTok dance trends on this list because there's only 2 that I specifically remember standing out in my head. Now I know there's a lot of TikTok dance trends out there, and there's no way I could physically fit them all into one video, because then this video would be like 2.5-3 hours long, which I might make a part 2 to this video. Who knows? We'll see where it goes. If you're very heavily invested into dance TikTok, please do not come after me. My intention is not to offend you. But back to the cannibal dance. This was a fun one. I put this one in specifically because I remember doing it with one of my friends when I was in like 8th grade. Lockdown had just started or was about to start, and we were in her basement or one of my friends' basements doing TikTok dances on my very first TikTok account. And I have very fond memories of that time because, again, we were cringe but we were free. Was I doing the dance very well? Not really. Did my friend teach it to me like 10 minutes prior? Absolutely. But it holds a special place in my heart. Therefore, I believe it does deserve a spot. A spot in high C, because there's nothing too crazy about a dance trend, in my opinion. Now we move on to the next dance trend that I've included, which is the renegade. Now this one is different than the cannibal dance trend just because it was so widespread, it was so iconic. For a while there, the renegade dance trend was almost equivalent to saying the word TikTok. The two had a symbiotic relationship. You said one, you know you meant the other. You said the other, you know you meant the one. And by that I mean, TikTok was very heavily associated with the renegade dance trend. And just for that level of iconicness, I'm gonna go ahead and put it mid to high B tier. Anita Grew. Oh, this is a good one. This is a really good one. I remember first seeing her in like 2020, 2021. This one was one of the suggestions by one of my friends on Instagram. And she was right for including her because she was beyond iconic. If you know who this is, shout out to you, because she was absolutely iconic. Beyond iconic. Every single one of her videos just had a very mysterious, majestic aura to it. And I do really appreciate that. So for that, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in A tier. I don't even have to think about it. A tier easily. Now we move on to Little Dark Age. There was multiple Little Dark Age trends. It's to the audio by, I think it's MGMT. Please don't flame me if I got the artist name wrong, but it's a song called Little Dark Age, and there was a bunch of different trends to that song. A lot of them included using like the time stop filter, where people would just like do things with their hands and make some kind of pattern for the video. There was also the one, oh, let me see if I can remember this. It Doesn't Go Away was one of the lyrics, and people would just discuss different things that they feel like don't go away with that lyrics. There was the open-eyed trend as well. That's another one of the lyrics. So there was just a bunch of different creative ways that people interpreted the song. So for that, for its creativity, I'm gonna go ahead and put it also up in A tier, because the creative ones really hold a special place in my heart. The Nagito edit. This had a huge impact on the app. This was the first The edit, as far as I'm aware, to ever exist. If you've been on TikTok, you would know the trend of a very cool edit comes out, and then suddenly that is The edit. Everybody knows The edit. And this was the first edit like that out there, again, as far as I'm aware. Again, I'm not a professional TikTok historian, but I might as well be at this point. The Nagito edit, I remember rewatching it hundreds of times when I first saw it. It was, something about it was mystifying. The Ratatouille musical. Again, this was one of those really creative things that came out of TikTok, where a huge group of people started to come together and work together to make something great. And that great thing was the Ratatouille musical. There was a bunch of different songs written, there was a casting for everybody to be the different characters, and this was just one of those creative endeavors that came out of the COVID era of TikTok while everybody was under lockdown. And again, for its creativity, I'm gonna put it at a low A tier, just because it wasn't my favorite, but it was very creative, and that is something, again, I appreciate. I gotta stop saying I appreciate things. I need an appreciate counter at this point. Very creative, love to see it. Pizza Hut apron. If you know, you know. This video is, again, one of the most iconic things I can think of from TikTok. It's a little niche, maybe. I do find it to be very iconic. You might also recognize this video from the audio. My pronouns are he, not him, because I will never be him. And that is absolutely true. None of us will ever be him. None of us will ever get to that level. This is something that no person can ever replicate. That's the level of iconic that it is. And for that, I'm gonna place it at a low A tier. Men in maid dresses. This was a huge craze in 2020, 2021, if I remember correctly. There was an influx of men on TikTok who would go on Amazon or AliExpress and buy themselves like a $25 maid outfit and then post TikToks in those maid outfits. And people ate it up. I'm not gonna lie, I ate it up as well. I thought that was the most sensational thing I'd ever seen at the time. And looking back, it really wasn't. It wasn't that revolutionary. I feel conflicted on this one because at the time I thought it was really cool and fun. But now I don't really have very strong feelings for it. So I'm gonna go with my feelings based off right now and just put it at a mid C tier. It doesn't really hit the spot for me like some of the other trends do. So for now, we're just gonna put that in a mid C tier. Now we move on to Trisha Paytas hashtag euphoric. Probs offensive, might delete later, or whatever her caption was. This video shook TikTok. There were so many recreations to it. I forgot the name of the sound that was used, but a bunch of people were recreating her video with that sound. Obviously not in the full getup that she was in, but they did her little dance with the hairbrush, the little back and forth shimmy around, or whatever she was doing. I was there when this brick was placed, and I'm proud to say that I was there. And for that, I'm gonna put this one at a low A tier, because this one, wonderful. Absolutely love it. Was she right in saying it was probably offensive? Yeah, she was right. She knew what she was doing. She knew it would rile the people up. It also created one of the most iconic moments in TikTok history, and for that, it deserves to be an A tier. Backyardigans audios. This is another very quarantine era TikTok trend where there was a lot of audio clips used from the Backyardigans, specifically from the theme song, and I believe Into the Thick of It was also another one of them. Again, if I'm remembering this all correctly. It was good, but it wasn't great, so I'm gonna put this one at a low B tier. Wow, wow, wow. Now we get to one of the most beautiful trends out there. I can go on and on about how much I love this trend, and that is the Adult Swim trend. This was by far the most creative huge trend that there was on TikTok. I have never seen TikTokers get so creative with the trend like they did with this one. The audio for it was good. The creativity was good. And the scale of it was great because so many people were doing it. You got to see so many different renditions of this trend. This is what I believe to be the first and maybe only S tier TikTok trend / iconic moment to exist, just because of how good it was. Without a doubt, it deserves a spot in S tier. I don't think anything comes close. I really don't. We're moving on to book talk. There have been so many YouTube videos made about the book talk girlies. There are some crazy people, let me tell you. Between the Colleen Hoover fans, the ones who asked for the spice level on the different books, it's a crazy time over there. I have ventured into book talk before for pure entertainment purposes, and I feel like it's a strange place, but it's also a community welcoming those who are into that kind of thing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with enjoying smutty books. Hell, I grew up on Wattpad and AO3 as a kid, so who am I to speak out about the book talk girlies? Does Colleen Hoover have her issues? Absolutely, yes she does. But her books are very popular over there. And you know what? I can't shame her for having success. So I feel like with that, book talk, solid middle B tier. I feel like that's a pretty fair place to place it. Now we move on to Trump x Biden, which is a crazy phenomenon that I see happen during election cycles, specifically when Trump and Biden are going up against each other. A lot of people decide to ship these politicians. I've seen edits of them, seen fan art, I've seen animation memes. You know how crazy people have to get to make an animation meme about two presidential candidates? It's a crazy time, and I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. I'm here for the debauchery. I'm here for the insanity. And for that, I think this is gonna be a high B tier. I don't think it quite deserves to be A tier, but I'm gonna put it at a high B tier. I feel like I'm gonna put it up above Deep TikTok. Willy Wonka Thirst Traps. This one is another very iconic one. I think this was also 2020, 2021, maybe 2022. It was around the time that the Willy Wonka movie was coming out, if I remember correctly. Or maybe that movie kind of brought the Willy Wonka thirst trap trend back. I remember people were genuinely thirsting over this. In retrospect, is a little strange because this is the chocolate man we're talking about. To each their own, I'm not gonna shame anybody. Willy Wonka thirst traps, I think this is gonna be another mid B tier. Again, I can't decide. I think I'm gonna put this one over Doja's Reign, but in front of the Renegade. I think that's fair. I'm actually gonna switch these two around just because I feel like this better encapsulates my view of things. Mafia TikTok. This one kind of goes with book talk, but Mafia TikTok, I'm specifically talking about the Mafia POVs that were all out there. There were so many Mafia POVs where some dude was pretending to be like a mobster. I don't even know. It was just a crazy time, and everybody had a fixation with the Italian Mafia. And this is also around the time that the movie 365 Days came out, and everybody on TikTok was watching it. By the way, the movie is not interesting. I did not finish it because there was no plot. It was basically just softcore corn, if you know what I mean. And it just was not interesting to watch. It was just two straight people. Go straight people, I guess. Not my thing. Mafia TikTok was also not my thing. It really wasn't for me, and I'm gonna just put it in a low B tier for now. Family Guy clips. Family Guy clips are a very widespread phenomenon on TikTok. You will see specifically Family Guy funny clips. There are so many Family Guy clips on TikTok. I don't know what the obsession with Family Guy is. It's definitely there. Now, I am a Family Guy lover. One of my best friends is also a Family Guy lover. For that, I'm gonna put it at a low B tier. But one of these days, I do wish to understand what the fascination with Family Guy on TikTok is. Rendering process. Art TikTok. Art TikTok is a whole nother conversation. There have been so many controversies on that side of TikTok. Oh my goodness, I could get into it. I'm not going to get into it in this video just because that's a huge long conversation. But rendering process was, if I'm remembering correctly, the first art lore video where somebody had drawn a character whose face was a little bit disproportionate and they were showing their rendering process. And ever since then, anytime anybody draws a character with a quote-unquote disproportionate face, people will comment underneath render process with the little side emoticon emoji looking thing with the bracket smile. I feel like this was the start of a little bit harmful behavior on TikTok of just putting some artists down for having their own personal style, which I don't agree with. So for that, I'm just gonna put it in C tier since it doesn't really hit home for me. I don't find it particularly funny. It's definitely an iconic moment in TikTok, so it does deserve to be on this list. Doubloons! Doubloons. Doubloons was a really fun one. I really did enjoy doubloons. This was another moment where everybody on TikTok came together to participate in a silly little trend. What could be more fun than trading fake currency with everybody? It did start getting a little out of hand when everybody was starting to have like millions and millions of doubloons and there was the big doubloon inflation. But I think this was one of those really wholesome trends that just deserves a spot in A tier because I can't remember last time there was a very wholesome trend like that on TikTok. The backrooms. The backrooms original creepypasta versus the backrooms on TikTok are two very different things, because on TikTok there are like hundreds of layers and levels to the backrooms, and I see a lot of TikTok posts where it's like, your birth month, your level of the backrooms that you gotta survive in. I feel like it's pretty creative with the way that it interprets the backrooms, as I think it takes the original concept of the backrooms and just expands it with having multiple different entities there, different types of rooms, different types of levels and layers and such. And I think that's really cool. I think it's really cool that people are expressing themselves in that way and coming up with different ways to look at the backrooms. It's not one of my favorites, so I'm gonna put it in a low B tier. It's pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. Jelly art style. This is something that I think got a little overhated. I don't think there's anything wrong with the jelly art style. I think it just started to become a bit of an oversaturated market, as there was a couple artists who were practicing this style and then it just blew up. And as a trend does, it blows up and everybody wants to take part in it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because that's just how the trend cycle works. I do think that this art style got a bunch of unnecessary hate though, but I think the reason why it started getting unnecessary hate, or just hate in general, was because a lot of people would look at the art style and it just wasn't to their liking and they would just start hating on it. If something's not to your liking, just let it be. Don't comment. Block the person if you feel so inclined. It's again one of those trends that I feel like just caused a lot of hate for no reason. I personally think the style is cute sometimes, depending on how the artist draws it. But for that, I'm just gonna put the jelly art style in C tier because I think the hate was really unnecessary. And I think the hate only happened because it got popular really quickly, so it started to get hated really quickly. Looks maxing. I think this has been one of the most harmful trends out there in regards to teenagers' self-esteem, and this goes for all glow up trends. What I personally see a lot is people will post their glow up videos, but it's really just them going through puberty and growing up. And I'll see a lot of comments too be like, glow up or grow up? Be for real right now. Which is absolutely true. Again, with all of these TikTok trends, I could make a whole video just diving deep into each and every single one of them, and that absolutely is the case for looks maxing, just because I feel like it's had a lot of a pretty detrimental effect on the self-esteem of teens and just young adults in general. And for that, I'm gonna put it in D tier, although I will say there have been a lot of funny memes that come out of it when the memes are making fun of the looks maxing trend. I do appreciate that, but for looks maxing itself, I don't like it and I'm putting it in D tier. The live NPC thanks for the rose trend. This one I think was pretty funny when it first started. It was just a lot of people pretending to be NPCs on TikTok live and thanking the audience for like a rose, which is how people make money on TikTok shop or on TikTok live. This one was pretty funny, but I feel like it got really oversaturated really quickly once people realized that, oh my god, this makes so much money, I'm gonna make a fuck ton of money, I'm just gonna go on TikTok live for hours on end and just thank people for the rose and pretend to be an NPC. And it came to the point where I'd be scrolling through TikTok and it would just be people going, thanks for the rose, thanks for the rose, thanks for the rose. Terrible time. Poor people. I couldn't do that for hours on end. I feel like I would start going crazy. For that, I'm gonna put it in C tier. Devious licks. The devious licks trend has caused irreparable damage to high schools across the United States. This was a trend where high school students would steal things from their school. Speaking from my personal experience, somebody stole an entire sink from my school. Just the whole sink out of a restroom. What did they do with it? Who knows? I sure as hell don't know. But this trend caused the shutdown for so many school restrooms across America, and it just caused a big inconvenience to students across the US. Was the trend funny when it started? Absolutely. I was beyond thrilled to be watching this trend. It was so funny to me. But my issue with it is the fact that it did cause genuine damage to schools in America. I'm gonna put it at a low B tier just because it was really funny, but also keep in mind that this was genuine genuinely causing issues in schools in the US. Okay, John Pork. I think John Pork is one of those more forgettable brain rot moments of TikTok. I only included him because it was one of the first things that I could think of. John Pork is calling, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little scared of John Pork. It freaks me out. I don't like how his face looks. I find it personally very scary, and I'm a little bit terrified looking at this image. So for that, I'm gonna put this in like C tier, mid C tier, because it was a little bit funny, but the image itself freaks me out so bad. I'm terrified. I'm scared. I'm mortified. The Luigi edits. That fine motherfucker. Sorry. Hey, Luigi. I got a little distracted. The man is just too fine. What can I say? Fine as fuck. And I completely understand why the people of TikTok were making edits of this man, because he is oh so fine. For that, I'm gonna put him in a B tier. I don't think it was anything too crazy special. I feel like middle B tier. It was very funny. I do personally very greatly enjoy the Luigi edits. If you guys have any Luigi edits that you would like to send me, my Instagram DMs are open. Anyways, moving on. Low taper fade meme. Guys, the low taper fade meme is still massive. All jokes aside, why is the low taper fade meme still a meme? I don't understand it. I don't get it. I'm at a loss. I really am at a loss. I feel like it's pretty iconic though, especially if you're in the brain rot sphere of TikTok. So for that, I'm gonna put it in a mid B tier. If you guys haven't picked up on a pattern, all the memes that, or all the TikTok trends that I don't really know where to place, I'm just putting them in B tier because I feel like they're good, they're iconic, they're funny, but they don't stand out to me super much. And I think that's gonna go the same with knee surgery and Brat Summer. The knee surgery meme I feel like became a little bit too overused. Actually, I'm gonna put knee surgery in C tier because I feel like this one just became too big too quick and it just was everywhere. I'm gonna put it above Strawberry Cow though, but below Thanks for the Rose, because Thanks for the Rose was, in my opinion, much better than knee surgery. And now Brat Summer. I take back what I said about Brat Summer. I think it was pretty iconic. I think a lot of really good outfit inspiration came out of Brat Summer and the whole brat aesthetic, and it does fit very in line with my personal fashion sense. Just cunt. So for that, I think I'm gonna put this in like a high B tier. I got two left, and these two are kind of lackluster. I'm gonna first start off with CapCut trends. I feel like they kind of kill creativity because ever since CapCut came out with templates, you can just stick random pictures into a template and it creates an edit for you, taking away the novelty of editors on TikTok. And I know editors put in a lot of time because I've dabbled in a light motion myself and that shit takes time to learn. So CapCut trends, I'm gonna put it at a low C tier because there was a couple really good ones. I remember I really liked the filters that they had, specifically the PS4 game filter, if I remember correctly. I think I participated in that one. And there was a couple fun CapCut trends. Don't get me wrong, the CapCut trends are fun. I just feel like it takes away from the editors on TikTok. And then finally, my absolute least favorite trend on TikTok is the TikTok shop. I think the moment TikTok shop got introduced to TikTok, the app got ruined. It has been detrimental to the state of TikTok. Every single second video that you're seeing is somebody trying to advertise something to you, on TikTok shop, and I find it so annoying. It's going at the very bottom of D tier. And just like that, this has been the completed TikTok tier list of trends and iconic moments that I have handcrafted myself. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please let me know, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. If you feel that I missed any iconic trends or moments in this video, comment down below which ones I missed, because I'm considering making a part 2 to this video with all the ones that I forgot to include. So do comment down below, let me know which ones I missed. And with that, hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.